basically is a venue for people who are interested in Southeast Asia. They can come and read books, as well as we have many events related to Southeast Asia. At the moment we have a photo exhibition downstairs about rice in the Greater Mekong sub-region, since rice of course is very central to the culture and the livelihoods of people in the Greater Mekong sub-region. And we are very honored to have today the students of Thammasat Global Studies program, and particularly innovation and sustainability, the Master in Innovation and Sustainability, who are organizing this conversation about inclusive education. This is a theme that has always been a concern of SEA Junction, and actually a few days ago we had, particularly for refugees, children and youth, comparing also with Indonesia and Malaysia. And I think some of these learning centers that are coming up in different countries, including in Thailand, I think will prove very important for the future of young education for non-nationals, so to say. So I am eager to learn more today about the experience with migrant children and youth. So I will give the floor to Michu, who now will take over and introduce the speaker and the topic. So thank you again to Thammasat University for choosing SEA Junction for this conversation.
Thank you for can I invite all the speakers to come up and just take a seat? And then, Tori, can I potentially ask for you to come do the slides?
Yeah.
And before we really get into the event, I'd also like to invite Ajahn Daniel up to just give a little brief background and a brief introduction to our faculty, School of Global Studies at Thammasat.
Thank you, Mishu. Yeah, good evening, everyone. My name is Daniel Kwal. I'm the director of the Masters of Social Innovation and Sustainability. I'm not going to say too much, but just like to say, big thanks to Lee and SEA Junction for hosting this event. This is actually this is a public event, but it's also part of a course we do in the Masters program. And it's the last class of the first semester of our first cohort or year of the Masters program. And I really want to commend the students for to really embracing this course and embracing this idea of hosting these public events, which are geared around trying to creating a public dialogue about particular SDGs which we're struggling to achieve in this region, and how can we build a community and an effective dialogue to push forward efforts to achieving certain issues or sort of addressing certain issues. So commend the students, and I really commend them on a very hectic and tough first semester and making it to this stage of the program. So a lot of them are working full time. And then coming to do a full weekend of studies every week, and then plus a couple of classes and lots of readings and lots of assignments during the week. So it's been very tough, and I sort of want to congratulate them on sort of getting to the halfway point in the program. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Over here. And okay, so I'm going to give a brief introduction to the event. I'm going to try and keep it kind of short because I don't want to spend too much talking. You want to hear more from them than you do from me, and we also want to hear from you as well. So I'll give just kind of a brief overview of the background of the event and how this came together, and how the structure of the evening will go, and then we'll let all of our guests introduce themselves. So as Daniel said, as part of this class, our class and cohort were divided into 3 teams, and each team was tasked with putting together some sort of public event related to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Our group decided that we wanted to look at UN SDG number 10, which is reducing inequalities, and specifically 10.2, which is developing inclusive societies for everybody, regardless of social, economic background. And the reason we chose this indicator in particular is that during the last UN report on how the SDGs were developing in the Southeast Asia region, while there are some that are making progress, there are some UN goals that are regressing, that are moving backwards and moving in the wrong direction, and inclusive societies is one of them. So we thought it would be really interesting to create a conversation around this, and we decided that migrant education would be a very interesting lens to look at inclusive societies. Creating inclusive education for all people everywhere is kind of is this incredibly important pillar of society. If we don't have a society that can provide education for all of the youth, there's no way that society is going to be inclusive. So it's an important topic. It's relevant to everybody living in Thailand, and it's also a topic that's made some pretty interesting progress as well. So we thought that would be great to learn about and learn about the whole situation. So in a minute, I'm going to pass it off to each of our speakers for them to just briefly introduce themselves and talk a little bit about what their experience with migrant education is, either on a personal or professional level. From there, we will be moving into, we have 5 short videos. The longest one is 13 minutes, and then they're increasingly shorter from that point on. After we show each video, we're going to ask that you have just a conversation with the people around you. So I kind of suggest that we think about doing this in rows and have a conversation with the people in your row, or if there's nobody else in your row, you can talk with the people behind you, and to come up with a few questions as a small group. Come up with a few questions based off of that video that you just saw, and then after each video, we'll probably have enough time to just get one question for each video. So we'll select one group to share their question, and then get some input from the speakers and also input from the audience as well. Again, we really want to make this a dialogue, a two-way conversation. After we've seen all of the videos, we're actually going to ask the speakers to pose a question to you. So it's a little bit different format, and we are really going to encourage you to engage in the conversation. So as they ask these questions, and hopefully they ask tough questions too, don't go easy on them. We'll create some interesting dialogue around this topic. That is it from me. Before I go on, I do just want to recognize my other team members. So we have Tari Quet, Namkao in the back here, and then Boop, who's manning the table still. And so we are a team of 4 who put together this event. So thank you so much. I'm now going to pass things over to Midway.
My name is New Wei. I'm a take responsible for Dear Burma Academy. I'm one of the deputy director of Thai Allied Committee with Disability Burma Foundation. Thai language, Boniti Loan in Thai Burma. Now we are open migrant education program set at 2003 to now every Sunday, and then 2004 we could run on Monday and Wednesday to now supported by the ILO, so Community Learning Center. So our school now we call it Dear Burma in Thai language is Sataban Dear Burma. migrant. Now this course, 800 migrant workers study every week for 3-month course. Sunday, this month 22nd is the reaffirmation for this course 50.
Hello, my name is Amanda, and my nickname in Thai is Amy. And I am representing Partners Asia today, but we are also affiliated with the School of Global Studies. And Partners Asia is working towards increased well-being of vulnerable Myanmar populations, whether within country or in Thailand along the Thai-Myanmar border. We support locally based organizations, and we believe that their initiatives should be led by those in the community, designed, implemented, as well as monitored and evaluated. And we support a variety of program areas, the focus being education within Thailand, but we also have programs focused on health, human rights, and peace and advocacy. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Nosu Yonabu, but also known as Susu. So I'm originally from Karen State, Myanmar, and I have done my high school education in a refugee, and I went to Big Foundation for earning GED diploma, and also now I'm studying in School of Global Studies, Thammasat University. So I'm here to share about what I've been through and what are my opinions on migrant education from migrant student perspective.
Hi everyone, my name is Melissa and I'm with BAMDEC Foundation. BAMDEC Foundation is an organization that supports vulnerable children access health, education, and safety. And we've been working a lot with families, especially children living on construction site camps through Chiang Mai and also now in Bangkok. So a lot of our work has been supporting children to enroll into school, many for the first time. Children from Myanmar, children from Cambodia, from Laos, and throughout Thailand.
Hello everyone. My name is Mr. Prayut, but not General Chan. Prayut Lakham. Today I'm the director of the Department of the Promotion and Development of Learning Innovation. Before this, I worked at the non-formal and informal education center for special target groups. It belongs to the Office of the Non-Formal and Informal Education, Ministry of Education, Thailand. I worked there for 6 years, and I know many people who work for undocumented and non-Thai children and people, especially workers who come to work and reside with their families in Thailand. I went to many places, Ranong, Samut Sakhon, Mae Sot, Tak, Chiang Rai, Chiang Mai provinces in order to visit those who miss opportunity to study in schooling system. I think this world is smaller and smaller, and educational opportunity should be for everyone, especially children. But there are more and more children day by day who miss opportunity to go to school, especially those who come from neighboring countries of Thailand, come to reside with their families in Thailand. I'm very happy to be invited today to talk to you. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Jeff. I'm currently in my undergrad programs in third year at Thammasat University. I'm from Myanmar, originally in United States, but I left the country when I was 12 years old to continue my studies in a refugee camp along Thailand-Myanmar border. So yeah, I basically spent most of my time in Thailand.
Good evening. My name is Tejo. The full name is Tejo Minto. So I work for Bain Education Foundation. At the same time, I also represent the Migrant Education Integration Initiative, which is the education network for migrants and refugees across Thailand. So the network is operated in 7 provinces in Thailand. We also have the Bain Education Foundation in Myanmar, working in the 9 states and divisions along the border, especially in the peripheral areas. So I'm really glad to be here, and thank you for all the organizers to invite me. And I look forward to sharing more in detail. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And actually, Jojo, if I can put you on the spot a little bit, would you mind just giving kind of a brief overview of the migrant education situation at the moment, and kind of some facts and figures before we get into the videos? Is that right?
Thank you. When we talk about migrant education, then we need to firstly define migrants. So there are different kinds of people who migrated from neighboring countries, especially from Burma to Thailand. So some people migrated to Thailand for economic hardship. Some people migrated to Thailand for refuge in Thailand and to flee from their struggles on the border, especially from the political and conflicts. So there are different types of migrants. So we cannot just generalize by using the term migrant to every person. So firstly, we need to understand the definition of how we define migrants. So after that, I wanted to explore or give you a little brief about migrant education. I'm not sure how we'll go, but I think I will just give a brief, right? After that, we'll detail after one round. Is it right? Okay. For migrant education, in other terms, we can call it community-based education. So from the government perspective, migrant education is the education for out-of-school children. It's not recognized. The certificates of education achievement are not recognized. So there are over 2 million migrant youth residing across Thailand. Actually, we have over like a 3 million migrant population in Thailand, but for the adult learners, especially in the age between 18 and 35 years old, we have about 2 million. So they all are eligible to study at the non-formal and informal education systems of Thailand. That right now, out of those 2 million people, about 9,000 people are studying. So you can consider why. And again, for children who are born to migrant families, we have about 400,000 children residing in Thailand who are born to migrant families. And among them, about 150,000 children are accessing different types of public education in Thailand, operated by Thai government, Ministry of Education Thailand. And about 30,000 children are actually studying at the migrant learning centers, which are community-based migrant education places. And the certificates are not recognized by both governments. And so you can consider after this learning center, where do they go? So again, you can also look at the government's intervention. So for the basic human right, people can study what they want to study, and they should be able to get equal access to education wherever they decide. But the real story is different. So the learners will be assessed and recognized by the certificate they are holding. It doesn't matter what you study, it doesn't matter what you learn, not what you learn. Then the certificate, the official recognition letters to get access to the public education. So, but it also improves from time to time. So in the future, how do we make these about 30,000 migrant children to get access to the public education by the official recognition. Wherever they go, and if they come to other parts of Thailand and get access to the public education systems in Thailand, or if they will return back to Burma and get access to public education in Burma, how can we make it happen? This is another question that we can consider. And another thing is the law in Burma. So every time we talk about migrant education, there is a kind of like a dialogue and a lot of discussions happen. It's very much controversial to use the term migrants, especially the cross-border migrants. So we drafted the law, like 14 chapters, for protecting the educational right for migrants or refugees to be included in the national education law in Burma. And we tried to make it compact as much as we could, and we could just make it 14 chapters. We cannot make it compact more than this because the need is big, huge. So that, I don't know how they did it. They just make it compact into the one article. So another question is how the policies are making these people more inclusive. These are just a brief kind of like the ideas that you can explore and you can raise the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Jojo. So now we're going to move into the video portion of the event. And Tari will be introducing each video. So just as a reminder, after we watch the videos, we'll ask you to kind of discuss with the people around you. If you're sitting in a row, you can discuss with your row and come up with 3 questions. We have a bit of a lens for you to develop those questions through, and those will come up after the video. So after each video, have some time to discuss with the people around you. We'll have a bit of a discussion and then move on to the next one. All right, Tari will introduce them.
Hello. Great, hi. So for our first film this evening, it was created by the Democratic Voice of Burma Media. And it's going to be actually a perfect segue from what Jojo shared on migrant education and families' challenges in accessing it. So let's go for it. I don't think we need to turn on the lights. So this film is only about 5 minutes. The longer one will be coming up next. So this will just be a short film here.
Five-year-old Nima has woken herself. You awake? 'But showered and is getting herself ready for the day. She's old enough to look after herself, and her parents went to work before sunrise. Alone and uncomplaining, she will get on with a full day of chores. But the family laundry is not her biggest responsibility. She's been left to look after her baby sister until the adults and the older kids return from working in the fields. Children in this town go to work when they are not much older than these 5, 6, and 7-year-olds caring for infants. Lack of oversight and an ever-growing hunger for cheap labour means that each day this town is emptied of all those strong enough to work. Meaning many of the kids do not get the chance to go to school.
ဒီကလေးတွေကဗမာပြည်ကမိဘတွေကနေပြီးတော့ဒီမှာအလုပ်တွေပါတယ်ပါတော့တာဆိုတော့ဒီကလေးတွေကဒီမှာလည်းကြောင်းအောင်ရှိကလေးတွေကဒီရောက်နေမိဘတွေပတ်စံမရှိမချင်းသူတို့မပြန်နိုင်တဲ့အတွက်ဒီကလေးတွေကအသက်ကြီးတည်ကြီးပြီးတော့ဖြစ်လာတော့အဲ့ဒီမိဘတွေကလည်းသူတို့ကိုယ်တိုင်ကစပြီးတော့ဒီနေရာမှာစပြီးမတက်ကြဘူးသူတို့တွေကလည်းမိဘတွေကိုယ်တိုင်လည်းစပြီးမတက်အဲ့ဒါဒီနေရာမှာကြောင်းလေးတစ်ကြောင်းကိုပုံစံဖြစ်ရှိ
Phokra in Thailand's Tak province is one of the most inaccessible areas of the country's border with Myanmar. It is one of the country's major agricultural districts where much of the produce is farmed by migrants from across the border. A 12-year-old boy picks potatoes alongside his mother, as younger children make games out of filling the sacks. This family has come from Pegu Division in south-central Burma. They crossed the border into Thailand, where many migrants hope to benefit from relative political stability, higher wages, and a cheaper cost of living. But the boy says he hasn't been to school since he left Burma. The Thai government has previously guaranteed free primary education to all children in the country, including non-citizens. But that option isn't open to the children of migrants without documents, many also too poor to cover costs related to sending a child to school. Norpor Ray heads up the Burma Migrants Education Committee, which funds 24 learning centres here in Tak province. She says there are 50,000 Burmese migrant children living on this stretch of the border. But in the 2014-2015 school year, only 13,000 enrolled in classes.
ကျောင်းပိတ်ပြီးဆိုရင်ကလေးတွေအတွက်ကတော့ဆရာမတို့ကတော့တော်တော်လေးစိုးရိမ်နေ။ကျောင်းဖွင့်နေတယ်တော့မှအချိန်တော်မှကလေးတွေကဒီ9000ထဲမှာ13000ပဲ။ကျန်တဲ့3000အပေကိုပြောင်းနေတယ်။ရောင်းစားခံနေရတာလားမဟုတ်ရင်လည်းဒီကွင်းထဲမှာအလုပ်လုပ်နေတာလား။နော်သူတို့အရွယ်လေးတွေကကျောင်းနေရတဲ့အရွယ်ပဲ။
Part of Burma's transition towards democracy has been an effort to bring the Burmese diaspora home. In the northern Thai city of Chiang Mai, the director of Myanmar's Labour Department is on a fact-finding mission. He says that while his office is committed to protecting the rights of Burmese working migrant children, officials are treading a fine line between help and hindrance. နိုင်ငံကမလုပ်တဲ့ကမှလည်းတချို့ကမတင်နိုင်တဲ့ရှိနေတယ်တို့တော့လည်းအခြေအနေကလုပ်ချင်လို့လောက်ရတာတို့တို့ရဲ့အခက်အခဲကိုဖြေရှင်းလို့လောက်ရတာဘောတော့ဒီပိုင်းနေတဲ့ရှိနေတယ်တခါကျအဲ့ကောင်လည်းနည်းနည်း sensitive ဖြစ်တာပေါ့ကိုကကာဝယ်တဲ့ခါမှာသူ့ရဲ့စာဝန်ကြီးကိုကပေးတယ်ဒါလည်းချင်းချင်ရမှာ Despite change in Burma, people are migrating to Thailand in greater numbers than ever before. Education centres like Norporay's will fight to ensure that for families who move to Thailand, the dream of a better life includes the ability to send children to school.
Right. So how this might look, as Nishu said, try to find a few people either in your row or around you, maybe groups of 3 to 4. And we were thinking, in order to frame create a little bit of a framework for some of these discussions you have. We'd like you to try to create 3 questions. So SDG 10.2 is defined as by 2030 to empower and promote social, economic, and political inclusion for all, irrespective of age, disability, race, ethnicity, origin, religion, or economic or other status. So what we'd like you to do is in your groups, if you can come up with 3 questions. 1 question around society, 1 question around economies, and 1 question around politics. And start off there and see where you go. We're going to give you about 5 minutes to just reflect on the film and have a brainstorming session of some questions you guys might have, and then we'll join back together for the next film. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Richie. Nice to meet you. Please introduce yourself. My name is Ken. And you're from Sri Lanka. Okay. Nice. He's from Nepal. I'm Indian. So we're neighbors. I mean, the country. All right. They don't have enough is like what determines the social and economic aspects. I mean, because those people at the upper hierarchy are like those people who make decisions according to the resources that they have in the country. So, and if they have like strategies and ways, they can improve economic and education. That's what I think. Yes, for sure. But they also need like to know how to use the money. Because like the difference between where other countries they have money but they don't know how to invest in the right areas.
Finishing up our last thoughts.
อ๋อต้องใช้ใช่ไหมอ๋อโอเคครับ
Discussion after each film, but because of time, we're going to have you guys just save it, keep some of the important questions that you came up with in your head, and we'll have a big group discussion at the end so we have enough time to really hear from our speakers. So our next one is also in a similar breath as the first one, so it's going to give you some more information about migrant education in Thailand, but it's going to be from the perspectives of teachers, students, and parents of students seeking education here in Thailand. This was filmed at CDC, which is the Children's Development Center in Chiang Mai, Mae Sot, sorry, in Mae Sot. This is our longest one, so it's going to be about 13 minutes. The rest are just going to be a few minutes, so enjoy, and we'll get the next one started. If I hopefully don't hurt your ears this time.
I know it. That's the workshop.
Give me reason, take me higher. See the champions
တာနောက်ပညာလည်းမရှိဘူးနောက်ပညာလည်းအနေထားတော့ဆိုတော့အဲ့ဒီအတွက်လည်းကျွန်တော်ကလေးကစားတာဒီတော့ပညာလည်းညာအကြောင်းတော့ကြားနေတာပေါ့ကျွန်တော်လည်းဒီဘာဖြစ်နေရအောင်ကိုယ့်ရဲ့နေမှာဒီနေတော့လည်းဆိုတော့ကျွန်တော်လည်းဒီနေရတယ်ဒီလိုကကျွန်တော်လည်းဒါပေမဲ့သူတို့ကဒီကတော့ကိုယ့်ရဲ့ဘာကြီးဖြစ်နေတာဒါတော့တော့တာဆက်နေတာ
လူအားဆိုရင်တော့ပထမဆိုတော့အတိအမှပြုခံရဖို့တော့ထိုင်းလည်းဆိုရတယ်အတိအမှမပြုနည်းနည်းတော့သူတို့ထောက်ပံ့ဖြစ်တဲ့ဒါနဲ့တော့သူတို့အပြေးွားတော့မှနည်းနည်းလေးပဲပေါ့နော်သူတို့ဟိုနည်းနည်းအတိအမှပြုရုံနဲ့အတိအမှပြုခံရဖို့ပဲပြောဟိုညမှာပဲရတယ်ကျွန်တော်တို့အတိအမှပြုတယ်အဲ့ဒါကကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီမျိုးလေးဖြစ်စေချင်တာတော့ဒီအစိုးရရဲ့ဟိုပေါ့နော်ဒီမှာကြီးက
ဖြစ်စေချင်တဲ့အိမ်မက်ကတော့ဘယ်လိုလဲဆိုတော့ကလေးတွေကိုပေါ့နော်ဟိုပင်ညာကိုပဲတော်တော်သူတို့အတွက်ဘုံဝင်တဲ့ပညာရေးကိုဖြစ်စေချင်တယ်။ဥပမာဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ကိုကနိုင်ငံပညာရေးကိုဘယ်လိုပြောလဲဆိုရင်တချို့ကလေးတွေကိုပြန်လို့ရှိရင်ပြည်တွင်းရေးပါပြန်လို့ရှိရင်အိမ်မက်ပြုချင်ခံရတာရှိပေါ့နော်။ပြီးဒီမှာဆိုလို့ရှိရင်လည်းဟိုဘယ်လိုပြောလဲဥပမာထိုင်လောက်ပြီးတော့ချင်လို့ရှိရင်လည်းဟိုအဲ့ပြောလဲအဆင်မပြေနိုင်တဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့်မှဒီတိုင်လဲအဆင်ပြေမဲ့ပညာရေးပြီးဒီမှာနေမယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ဒီကပညာရေးတက်ဖြစ်တဲ့အခါမျိုးကလေးတွေကိုဖြစ်စေချင်တယ်ပေါ့။အိမ်မက်တွေမှာဖြစ်လာဖို့အတွက်တော့ကိုပြောင်းတယ်လေလုံလောက်ပေါ်တော့အားလုံးရဲ့ဝိုင်းဝန်းပတ်မှုလိုအပ်တယ်လို့ထင်တယ်ပြီးကိုယ့်ရဲ့ပတ်မှုလို့ရှိရင်တော့မှကလေးတွေရဲ့လူချင်းစိတ်ကလည်းလိုအပ်တယ်ပေါ့နော်။အဲဒီတော့ကိုပြောင်းတယ်ကမှဖြစ်ဖို့အကုန်လုံးကဝိုင်းဝန်းပေါင်းပြီးတော့လုံလောက်တဲ့ဒီမက်တွေအောက်ကိုပေါ်လာတယ်
နေတော့နော်အဲ့ဒီမှာဆိုရင်လည်းတော့ဒီနေရာတွေ program ပါချင်တယ်အကြီးဒီလိုလာတော့ဒီပေါ်ပေါ်လာတော့ခြားကြောင်းလာမှာ already ဒီရဲ့ခြားတော့နိုင်တဲ့ future TPC နောက်တော့ဒီကတော့တဲ့တင်ရှင်တော့ဆိုရင်
ရတယ်ဒီနေ့ကတော့အလုပ်ပေးနေတယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ဥပမာဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ခုဒီမှာနေတဲ့ကလေးလေးဆိုလို့ရှိရင်လည်းဘာဖြစ်တော့ခွင့်ရတဲ့အများကြီးရှိတယ်လေဥပမာမျိုးပေါ်သွားချင်တာကြီးဒီလိုခေချင်တာထိုင်သူရဲ့စိတ်ကြိုက်ရွေးချယ်ခွင့်နေတဲ့ဟိုဖြစ်လို့ရတယ်ပေါ့နော်အဲ့ဒီအစားကိုကြည့်ချင်အဖြစ်တော့ဒါ migrant education ကိုပေါင်းလုပ်ပေးနေတယ်လို့ထင်တယ်
မျိုးထိုင်ကြလည်းမဟုတ်ဒီမှာကြလည်းမဟုတ်အခုလိုမျိုးလက်စစ်ပြည့်တယ်ပေါ့နော်။ဘာဖြစ်လဲဆိုတော့အဲ့လိုမျိုးနှစ်ဖက်နဲ့လက်မတူရတဲ့တင်ကြိုကြဆိုတော့တိုက်ပါတယ်။ဒီလိုမျိုးပြောမယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိတော့ကိုယ့်ရဲ့ငွေရစာတိမိပါပဲနေရှိတယ်ပေါ့နော်။ဒါပြန်ခဲ့ပြန်စား။ဒီပါရဲ့ရေချီလို့အဲ့ဒါပေါ့နော်ကိုလက်လန်းနဲ့ညီနဲ့ညာရေချီတို့ကိုလက်လန်းညီကိုအတွက်ကိုမှရှိတဲ့စိတ်ထားတဲ့ရေချီတွေရှိတဲ့အဲ့လိုမျိုးရှိတယ်။အောင်လို့ဘယ်လိုဖြစ်လာမျိုးရှိတယ်ဆိုတော့ဘာကိုကြောင်းအောင်လို့ရှိကိုတက်ရှင်နေကြည့်ဒီလား။ဒါပြန်ပြောတော့အစင်းရဲ့ဆရာအားစစ်စစ်ပြီးတော့ပေါ့နော်။ Questions. So if you guys get stuck in your discussion or as you're talking, try to reflect back on those 3 questions. So one around society, one around economies, and one around politics. All right, enjoy. 5 more minutes, and then I'll call you guys back in.
Any interesting insights from this video?
film, so we have enough time to really have a good discussion with our panels and with each other. So this next film that we have is from an organization called Starflower, and they are working with migrant children with special needs, and so they really, it helps, I think this film is really relevant as it helps kind of increase our understandings around the complexities around education, and especially among parents with children who have special needs. So this will be our last film. We'll have a short discussion after this, and then we will reconfigure our speakers so that we can talk more with them and about a little more about their insights. All right, here we go.
We started the Starflower Center in 2009 because we saw many children with special needs in the community. They have access to education, so we think there will be good for them to start the center. Teachers at the center here, we treat all the children with dignity because we know that they are capable of learning. When the children come to the center, they will enjoy activities.
So this will be our last small group discussions, and we'll give you again about 5 minutes to think of some questions and discuss together, and then we are going to start our speaker session. Thanks.
We don't know either.
You want to invite They're already gone, so it's okay. I think it's still for. Sorry? Hey, come on. I give you 2 seconds. What? Sorry? No. Okay, so what are your insights on this video?
The last video, actually, like, it's learning center, right?
Yeah.
It's very difficult to get the support from any other NGOs because I'm running the learning center by my own. I'm not getting support from anyone because they have one reason: we cannot register our learning center. So they come and support. Even NGO also. Even UNHCR, like you can see in Thailand NGO, they mention they are helping for the education, but when we are request, they don't want to come. This is one of the things. Actually, everyone talking like they want to help and they want to give the bright future, but if we go in, but they are not. Actually, it's true. Different from what we are seeing. Yeah, that's true.
Like the main reason, the main problem, supporting and the resources.
I don't know, maybe those group also don't, like, they keep talking, but they're not going to take any action.
I think like you said, I think it comes from social values. I mean, if they preach, they have to really help. It's not like doing things for the sake of having an image and it's about planning and executing it.
That's true, yeah.
That's what I think.
But they're not like,
they don't do right.
If you go and talk to any NGOs, they keep mentioning Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
He cut everything. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. No, I have the own experience. That's why. Whenever I go, like they said, we don't have enough fund. Donald Trump cut everything. But actually, they are also getting the same salary before the Donald Trump comes. That means it's not affected for them, but it's affected for the people like who are suffering.
For the video, so who did they get like support from? So they get from United, from UN, places like that.
But actually, it's not. I don't know about the Star Flower Center, but I have the Sridhar Learning Center, but it's very difficult. I send email. Actually, I try to connect them, but they don't. They said they're able to support because we are not registered.
So policy. So Donald Trump. So those people.
They mentioned.
So they are the ones who decide they want to help. And when they decide, these people will in turn help us.
Yeah, that's true.
So this means that whatever organization like UN, things like that, it's dependent on the interest of America.
One more minute.
The other thing is also the society. People are really interested in money or when it comes to stories, people don't
It's true. Even like like UNHCR, everyone says like UNHCR is one of the powerful, right? Those people might also like the people. If you speak English, that means they are finished. Like you are a graduate, you are done.
Really?
That is their policy. They don't want the kids to come to the next level. They're just basically teaching for the Thai in English. Like some of my kids, they went to the BRC, Bangkok Refugee Center. So they teach 1, 2, 3 in Thai, 3 years, 2 years, and then they go to the alphabet. So 2 years she spent only 1, 2, 3 in learning.
I'm going to ask you to bring your conversations to a close. And we will start moving on to reflections from our speakers. We've got one more group, just ask you to wrap up your conversation. conversation. Thank you. It's great to see that it's an engaging conversation. That's what we wanted to create tonight. So we'll start with some reflections from our guests this evening. And then get a few questions from you that you came up with in your groups, and then we'll have the speakers also voice a few questions to you. So this is very much going to be a two-way conversation, so I hope you're ready to continue engaging and continuing the conversation as a big group. So why don't we can go in reverse order this time, and Jojo, we can start with you and just go around the circle here and just give some of your reflections on some of the thoughts that came up as we saw those videos.
Thank you. And very quickly, after watching this video, very quickly, there's something came in my mind. It's also something that I missed to mention when I was giving the brief. So it's about the out of school children. So as I mentioned, about 180,000 children are studying in high schools and at the same time migrant learning centers. So out of 400,000 children, only 180 are studying. So you can imagine over 200,000 children are not having any education right now. So it has been years already. So we've been trying for like 7 years to reach these children. So there are different kinds of barriers. So we go to details when we have the questions. So this is one thing. Another thing is the educational support for the children with disability or children who need special education. It is also very important. When we were researching the migrant education back in 2014, this is a very important finding that we saw, which is the kind of trauma or emotional effect among migrant children. It is one of the big findings we found at that time. So among those about 5 other need areas, emotion and also trauma, and also kind of like a disability is a big barrier for them. So this is something that came in very quickly. From the video and actually to my experience to work with migrant people in Thailand, I think it's high time for the government of Thailand and neighboring countries to have debating, to talk about the recognition of the certificate of those who finish their study from migrant learning centers. The problem is from the curriculum. It's not the curriculum of Ministry of Education Thailand, and it's not the curriculum of Ministry of Education Myanmar or Cambodia also. Today, I think Thailand cannot lack of migrant workers from neighboring countries to work. It is estimated that there are not less than 4 million migrant workers from Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos, in the northeastern region to work and reside in Thailand. They come with their families also. Some of them come to have families here. This is one of the responsibilities of Ministry of Education of these countries, because they come from Myanmar. I think it's also the responsibility of Education, Ministry of Education Myanmar, Thailand also. We had this meeting 3 to 4 years ago at Lusitani Hotel. I remember
He was also there. Ichiro Miyazawa, program specialist of UNESCO Bangkok, was also there. We talk about this. And we also have the problem of the linkage bridge. It's not a mistake of parents of those children who send their children to Thai schools. But everything in Thai school is in Thai language. Their parents also worry about the future. One day they go back to Yangon, to Myanmar. How can their children survive? They don't know Myanmar language, only speak in the family. But if they send their children to migrant learning centers, the certificate is not recognized. This is the problem. But as for me, to work for non-formal education, we also provide non-formal basic education to all who are interested. But there are so many rules and regulations in the Ministry of Education. According to the rule, a person who is interested to register to work, to study with non-formal basic education, he or she has to be at least 15 years of age. But as for me, I have never seen children whose age are 8, 9, or 10 years go to kindergarten school. I have never seen a boy or any girl at 12 years old go to study the grade 1 in Thai school. So I also tell my friends to accept those all to study with non-formal basic education. I think and that non-formal education center will not have the problem with the police. That is not a mistake, because educational opportunity is for all. It's the first duty of children outside their house, their family, is to go to school and study. I also talked to the Director General of Non-Formal Basic Education. What do they think? What do you think if you are also that boy at the same age and we are in the same village? We can see each other every day, every morning, every evening. In the morning, your friend go to school, but you never go to school. He also has a patient. He has a uniform of his school, but I never have nothing. When we go outside, my friend can read something, but I cannot read anything. This is a small world, and it should be the world to live all together. And I think this is the big responsibility of the Thai government also to work for the opportunity of these children who come with their families to reside in Thailand. I never forget this question until as long as I work in the Ministry of Education. Thank you.
I think in watching these videos, what I noticed is that they were all focusing on Myanmar migrant populations within Thailand. and primarily on migrant learning centers. And these are both very important. It's a very important population to note, to care for, to support. And migrant learning centers, of course, we should find a way to have them accredited, but also to realize that in the broader context, there are other educational opportunities that should also be inclusive that currently are not at the moment. Whenever we're looking at migration, as Jaja said, the story of migration is very unique and broad, and the needs of the people coming across into Thailand are also varied. So I think that it's important to consider holistic approaches to education, certainly migrant learning centers, also Thai public schools, non-formal education centers, vocational training centers, GED programs, and higher education. So I think what I would do is encourage you in your group discussions to also think migrant learning centers, but also education in a more holistic sense, as well as other migrant populations that reside within the country.
So, looking through those videos, I think the first video really caught me, and it made me really think of the families that we work with, that are close to my heart. When you think about children who are taking care of other children, children who are working in the fields, my big question is, what is the risk to them that they're not getting an education? What is the risk of a 6-year-old taking care of a 1-year-old with no parent around, no adults around? What is the risk of a child that's working all day and not being able to get, basic education? So that's like a very close and personal level of a child without education. The second video, and so I hope that, I encourage you to think about it because there are so many implications for children and vulnerability and child rights around safety that's connected with that. The second video made me think of all the different actors that are involved to support a child's safe development and well-being, right? So we're thinking about the governments, we're thinking about migrant learning centers, we're thinking about nonprofits and foundations, but also the big migrant population that's working in Thailand are groups like fisheries and agriculture and construction sites. And who are all the different players that are involved where children and their education are connected around this, right? Who do you think are the key actors that can support to provide basic child rights to education in Thailand, right? So at the government, we're thinking about policies, we're thinking about relationships between different countries and accreditation. Nonprofit, what is their role in this? Foundations, what are their roles? Businesses like construction sector, companies, what is their responsibility to these kids and their families that they're employing? As well as, parents, children, and us. What is our role in supporting children's education? Because we know that it takes a whole community of people who know about child's rights, who know that children have a right to education that can support this overall movement towards meeting this goal of children's rights education. So those are the two questions that I pose to you.
So I've watched these videos. It reminds me of my journey of competing to be recognized, because I finished my education in a refugee camp, and the certificate that I've got is not recognized by anyone to continue on with my education. So the way that I have to choose is to sit for GED, which will be recognized by anyone. So to have that recognized certificate, I also have to compete, because there are a lot of migrant students who want to get that certificate, and I have to compete with them to get that recognition. And after I have got that, I also have to compete again to get the financial support to continue on with my education. So it was a competition to be recognized. So that reminds me of that journey that I have gone through. So just want to share with you.
the videos that commit is the dreams that they have. So if we look at the second videos, how the girl talk about her dreams, and she wants to be a nurse. So for all of us has high dream, but in this case, so many of migrants or many of those people give up their dreams or like do not achieve what they want to be. It's because there are so many of them, but there are lack of support for them. So just it make me think, or maybe we give it to you like how persistent or how resilient will you be to achieve what you want to be if you are in this situation. So yeah, I think it's nice that there are some programs or some learning centers that give the opportunity to learn, that they can go for higher education. So, yeah.
Thank you. As the recently television, videos clip, I remember my opening school 1997 at the Thammasat University. 2001, our school was closed down because of Korean and Burmese student raid the embassy and later raid the hospital. Finally, my school was closed. At the time, Thai Interior Ministry provide, we must not open the migrant children's school, but a migrant school center, migrant kids center. So we have to be two ways, but had to be erased because the teachers are Burmese academics who are fighting against the Burmese education. So Thai authority are concerned for the national security, so we have to be left from Mahajan. That is in 2001 after the Ratchaburi hospital raid. So later 2002, I'm trying many migrant illegal arrived in Bengal, and then the refugee also Bengal. Political concern was in a lot of Bengal. So we encourage the Burmese student organization to run a study English program. In the same time, trying to Thai student federations or Thai student leader are coming to help to teach the Thai language. So because of the first failure of the school at the Thammasat, we have no Thai teacher. We have only Burmese teacher. So when second time, I suggest the Burmese worker and refugee people to help to learn the Thai language. And so later we are getting the Thai student assistant, right? But later, you know that we have no solidarity among ourselves. Many Burmese organizations have an argument with each other. So our committee member, Thai committee board member, giving guideline that you must study together. Yeah. So finally, we have to respond. Not the student organization taking the school, and because of many various Korean organizations, more Burmese, many different groups. So we try to this program until now, 2003 to now. So now there is I make only uniform with the white shirt because our people have mistrust each other. So like that is the migrant legally people, not the other illegal people. At the Bengal, for the work safety and Thai law also very stricter rule. If I'm opening school, there is an illegal one arrest, maybe we have to be attend the code, you know. So like this situation, but when we are registration passed 2008, and our school never entered. Sundays over the year, never police orchestra. Maybe we have to say thank a lot to the Thai society because of this education need for the Burmese people. You know, I set up the Southern Thailand, Ranao, Suratani, Phuket, Phang, over 10 library. Never any of library, police never come in. There is an illegal migrant worker a lot Southern Thailand. So that is the, I have to say that thank you. So now I have Thai language class now, me 20 and English class 22. Plus computer 5 class. Computer 5 class is one round 2 hour. And the Burmese language. So like a Burmese kid, Bengal have a small kid, some are already adult, but they never study in Burma. So they have to take into learning the Burmese language. So all this situation and inclusive possible, but now we are running due to the worker have a passport, work permit, and income. So this worker, I encourage them. I don't write any proposal now. Very lazy to write a proposal. I know that I'm getting old already. So all of you want to study, okay, contribute. So I don't use a student learning course, not teaching course. There must be contribution. So that money are running the school, 800 students for this course. So this is the income, migrant worker who income legal must contribute, like some other like star flower kids, you know, many remote area and refugee need to be contribute. Yeah, so that is the, because if we are not doing that one, our solidarity, dialogue, desire, education, there will be more and more lower. So now this courage getting, now I have, because I make higher education, I cannot do that very much because our Thai foundation, I'm also not too much good relation with the Burmese government. So now only 2 years education for matriculated class. Last year we have a 5 student pass in Bengal. Now this year also not ready to, but very, very sadly to know that when my migrant student who are matriculated level migrant worker, when they going to apply the embassy, there was many levels, many stricter rule. Even the work permit, Thai work permit name, and work permit name some date of birth, Thai school, the date of birth, no match. So she cannot allow to take an exam at Bengal. So need to go the Basel Saturday school and send it to the Yawadi to exam. So this kind of situation, so need to be, there is the many things to be do, and apparently I need to stop. Need to be more time and talk. Yeah.
So sorry. Yeah. So thank you so much. Okay, great. So we have a little bit of time left, and we'd love to get some questions from you. So you have some time to discuss from these videos. We are really lucky to have a wide array of experiences here. So we've got international foundations, we've got Thai foundations, we've got government, we've got service providers, we've got supporters, we've got students here. You have a wide array of people to ask questions and get opinions and perspectives from. Is there anybody who would like to start us off with a question?
Thank you all for coming here and presenting. This has been great so far. My question revolves around the issue of the GED. First, to qualify, is the GED that has been mentioned, is that an American GED or is this an ASEAN GED?
Actually, it's American GED. It's real. Some people say we are in ASEAN country, we're not ASEAN GED, but it's American GED. But we study.
So that's my question. Why would universities in Thailand require an American GED when Thai people don't need an American GED to go to university here? Where did the idea of an American GED get integrated into the conversation?
Thank you. It's a very important question. For our program, GED is one of the tools to bring these young learners to go to higher education, to empower them to be the community leaders.
But it's not accepted by anybody.
Which one?
But it's not accepted by any universities.
The GED program or our program?
The Thai government doesn't accept the GED.
Thai government accepts GED.
So who doesn't accept the GED?
Burmese government. So I will explain you in a little bit detail. So, for example, these two young learners, they came from the metro areas. They passed through the learning process throughout the learning centers along the border areas. So, for them, I think about 12 years. They spent 12 years in the migrant learning centers. Actually, this amount of time, actually give them the enough academic skills and education to finish the basic education. And they are ready to go to the higher education. But the thing is, the certificate provided by the migrant learning centers are not recognized by any government, any university. So GED is a certificate provided by the American government.
But not the Burmese government?
No. So GED is originally from United States of America. It's designed for the soldiers in Vietnam War. So who came back from the Vietnam War, so they have a very much socio-economic gap and also difficult to survive in the society. So GED is a kind of a tool for these soldiers to catch up with education and also to gain the job opportunity. So later on, it is expanded to the different countries, especially in the developing countries. And the certificate is assessed as provided by the US government. So many universities around the world, most of the universities around the world accepted the GED certificate, including the universities in Thailand.
So for the migrant workers, if they get a GED, they could apply to university here in Thailand?
Yes, not just university in Thailand, but also other universities in Southeast Asia and other places. But the thing is, the content is not designed for them.
Okay, so that was my follow-up question to that is, I'm a curriculum developer, but I'm just on an ESL level, but I'm familiar with the GED. Why not just the GED, so it still follows international standards in math and science, for example, because those are universal topics, and adjust things like the social sciences so that it more falls in line with the ASEAN. That can't be hard.
It was also the question from us to the universities and also to the government. Why don't we create ASEAN GED?
Thank you for that question. That was great. We have one more, I think we maybe two more questions, but at least one more question. We have one more question from the audience. Sorry?
Maybe directed at one of our speakers for the answer.
One question. Yeah, great.
My question also revolves around the GED. I also took the GED and I found like the level of English required to take it was pretty high. So given that these students are spending time in migrant learning centers, right? I want to know that who is teaching this level of English, or what kind of infrastructure would it take to teach migrants this level of English?
Actually, like in migrant schools, we also get education like English from English native speaking volunteers who come to teach us. So we kind of get English skill there. And also like when we prepare ourselves to sit GED, we also got support and teaching from native speakers that allow us to prepare ourselves to be able to sit GED. That's how it worked.
One more. Do we have one more question?
No. It's okay.
So, would you like to share your experience a little bit?
Okay. 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 My name is Niroshan. Actually, I'm running. So my name is Niroshan from Sri Lanka, and I'm running a free learning center for refugees. Actually, you guys are talking about Myanmar people only. I'm running the learning center for the refugees, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Somalia, and Iran. So my mind is like whenever I see this video, it's automatically click. It's not their parents or like how many the migrant come to Thailand. There is a one hope also from the UNHCR. The UNHCR giving the fake hope for the parents. So they register. They have to wait for 4 to 6 years to get the results. So during the 4 to 6 years, they don't. The parents or they don't have any sources to send their school. And also in Thailand, there is a refugee learning center, Bangkok Refugee Center. So they are also running the standard school. And they are teaching only for the Thai. It's good for the kids to understand. But basic level. They're not like taking the kids to high level. So many of them, they don't have enough knowledge. So even the parents also, they are suffering to how to face this kind of problem. So you guys have any idea to talk about these things to United Nations?
That's a question open to anybody, speakers or okay.
The refugee status in Thai UNHCR and Thai government policies. Thai government have never ratified the UN Refugee Convention. So our Burmese people who are refugees in Bangkok on the border, there is some missionaries, some humanitarian organization in Bangkok too. Many we organize ourselves. That is the us. Now current Pakistan and Sri Lanka, and some are from other countries.
Other countries, yes.
So that is the maybe UNHCR issue the refugee certificate. But you should be pressured to the UNHCR because of before our Burmese refugee in Bangkok, a lot of Burmese students in Bangkok, UNHCR and another organization for me, and they provide the English class or take care, healthcare, or there is already here. So I don't know why now some refugee other country, right? UNHCR ignore or why they don't provide? Because if not, you have no way to get in the assistance. UNHCR willing to provide some assistance. International NGO or organization can be getting the assistance. If not, very hard. Maybe we not everybody can make a concerned organization to make a pressure. Because I'm a state refugee status. Yeah, I'm 1 year, one time UNICEF going, I met black people a lot. But UNICEF, there's no any arrangement for all things. No.
Thank you. So that is just about all that.
I have one more question. Just open floor to anyone here. I would love to learn if anyone knows about case studies abroad, because Thailand is not the only country that has a lot of refugee students. And I'm wondering if you guys know about any other places in the world with a similar situation who are having different ways to solve this issue of creating inclusive education with refugees.
The first is I would like to inform some more information about the man from Sri Lanka. Office of the Non-Formal and Informal Education has the Non-Formal Education Center in every district all over the country, and even in Bangkok. So if you are interested to learn something, as for example, a literacy program for children, or even your group, you and friends, you can approach the Non-Formal Education Center in every district. You can ask your friends about where is the office, where is this Non-Formal Education Center in the district, and you stay and you work, and you go to that office. You can talk to the staff in the Non-Formal Education Center. They will provide you. It's quite free to provide the small learning program for interested people. Any learning program, even literacy program, and everything is free. As for the situation of refugees, sometimes I don't call it refugees, but migrant workers to work. Today in Japan, there are more and more migrant workers go to work and reside with their families in Japan. Last year, I went to talk to teachers and lecturers in the university in Nagoya. Most of migrant workers to Japan are the Philippines, from the Philippines, Vietnam. The situation is quite similar to Thailand. They come to work and they come with their families. And the opportunity for studies of their children also are quite the same. So the Japanese government is also interested to study the experience and situations of Thailand also. We communicate each other with the lecturers from Iwate University to share this experience. I took these lecturers to Ranong province, to Mesota, to study the real situation of our country. And they also preparing educational opportunity for those children who go to reside with their families in Japan, or even migrant workers, the Philippine workers or Vietnamese workers to Japan to study at least Japanese language for communication. This is another experience I can share. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I would love to take your question, but we are out of time. Amy, did you want to add anything onto that in terms of case studies? Okay. So before we end, I'm sorry, we don't have any more time for questions. Sorry?
We can discuss afterwards.
And we can discuss afterwards, and we can continue the conversation out of here, but I just want to be respectful of our host. So I would just ask Jojo to end us off because this is a really complex and complicated situation with no one right answer or no one solve. It takes people working at every level of society to move this forward incrementally, and there has been quite a lot of progress. So I'd like to just pass it over to Jojo to kind of end us with what are some of the more positive points and the victories within migrant education that have happened in the past few years.
Thank you. If I am to speak about migrant education, I probably need another 2 hours. Alone for myself. Because it's very complicated and time-consuming work. It became like my lifetime work. So for the victories are children. So because of the existence of migrant learning centers, if we look back like in past 20 years, migrant children are not allowed to study in the public education system. So without them, you can imagine what had happened to this population. So firstly, the existence of migrant learning centers is very important. And they also grow. But the problem was, there's also the policy and regulation on the migrant learning centers because they are not following the entire education systems. So when we look at the education, so there are different perceptions. It also depends on who is looking at this education. For government, they sometimes use humanitarian perception, but many times they have to be using their own work. So those books are very rigid, and we cannot also blame on them because they have the responsibility to take care of their national security. So there are also the questions about why it is related to the national security. It's only education. Why is it concerned about national security? So I'm going to give you a little bit example. So if you look at one migrant learning center, who are teaching 100% Burmese curriculum, Thai authorities, also the teachers, or even the provincial level government, they don't understand at all what is going on in this space. So this is their concern. So when we look at from the cultural perspective, they are human. They need to accumulate the practices like language and also knowledge about the society, community in Thailand, at the same time in Burma. So the cultural process also makes the identity. So when we talk about the identity, it also comes with the politics. So for the Thai government side, they thought these learning centers are building Burmese identity. We don't know what they are teaching. So it can be the constant foundation and security. At the same time, there are a lot of humanitarian aspects that the authorities are using. At the same time, from the perception of Burmese government, these learning centers are not under their administration. They are in Thailand. So that for the learners inside the learning centers, they need to connect to both societies. They need to learn Thai language. They need to learn the society of Thailand for the survival from day to day. And they need to learn about Burma because they will be returning one day. And there is one big problem in Chiang Mai area, especially in another part of the area, because many children born to migrant families do not speak Burmese anymore. So their parents are getting concerned, getting worried that their children will not be able to survive when they go back to Burma. So education is not just about administration. Education is not just about the national security concept. It's really about the culture. It's really about the people who are connected to the societies and different communities, both in Thailand and also Burma. Also from the development aspect, this population is a very big human resource for both countries. We have the examples of some migrant students. They speak 2 languages, some of them speak 4 languages. So they can be the bridge in between these two countries. They can explain about the Thai culture back in Burma. They can explain about Burmese culture in Thai society. So they're the bridges. And the last thing I want to highlight is the important role of migrant learning centers. So many people, many authorities are looking at migrant teachers as the illegal workers because their work permits are not allowed to work as teachers. The work permits are only for the general workers. So, but these learning centers are actually providing the language and also the knowledge and also the skills to connect both countries. They are supporting, firstly, integration to Thai society, and they are supporting, secondly, to reintegrate to Burmese society. So these learning centers are the bridge in between two countries. So we are actually promoting to recognize these learning centers. And one of the victory along after the 7 years of effort, both governments formed the high-level joint working group to work on the migrant education, chaired by the Secretary of the Ministry of Education, Thailand, and also Ministry of Education, Myanmar. It was formed on 6 and 7 August. And on 24 August, combined forces of Ministry of Department of Labor, Police Department, and also Immigration Department raided the migrant learning centers in Ranao and impacted about 3,000 children to be out of school right now. So we are working on that, but there are a lot of things keep happening. A lot of issues keep happening. So I'm really crossing my finger that about these 3,000 children will be back to the safe place to land. Otherwise, they are very much vulnerable for the human trafficking or other related networks. I hope that we can talk more in the future. Thank you very much.
So, as Joe just said, there's some victories, but there's also ongoing and continued challenges. And I really appreciate what Amy said earlier, that when we're talking about inclusive education in Thailand, this was one lens that we looked at through Myanmar migrants living in Thailand. We focused a lot on migrant learning centers, but there's a lot of other lenses that you can look at inclusive education and children who are living in Thailand and youth and adult learners as well who are living in Thailand who aren't able to access education. And I think it's incredibly important that as people who are either living in this country or visiting this country, that these are issues that we care about and educate ourselves about and understand and figure out how we can support these efforts. We live in a society where at least more than 200,000 young people, and more than that, are currently not able to access education. That's not acceptable. So thank you so much all for coming out tonight. We really appreciate the dialogue and the conversation. Can I get a big round of applause and thanks for our speakers. Also a big round of applause to Leah and the Thank you so much for hosting us. We really appreciate it. We have a few gifts that are over here. A few tokens of appreciation from the School of Global Studies. As we wrap up this evening and start heading out of the room, we can continue conversations out here. And I really encourage you to take this incredible opportunity that we have to have such diverse perspectives, to come learn a little bit more and think and ask some questions about how you can continue to be engaged in this topic and in these multiple efforts from Bangkok, from Chiang Mai, from Mae Sot, from the border, from the government perspective. Okay, so we have a few gifts before we can and tea and some snacks out there, so feel free to help yourself. Passing over to Leah for just the last word.
It's about sustainability, so please also give a donation for SEA Junction on your way out, which allow us to facilitate this kind at a very subsidized price. Thank you.
Thank you.